Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews. Now this video I was going to do in two parts. You've got myself talking about James Bond and then my co-reviewer The Core talking about Doctor Who because he knows more about that, but these are two legacy franchises and there's stuff going on together, so we'll keep it as one video. Enjoy. Recording now. So I've just told you the news that came out today, that the creative control of the James Bond franchise has now been handed over to Amazon, who owned the distribution rights or something, and Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson still had creative control through Eon Studios, but now it's not because they're getting old. They've handed the reins over in full to Amazon, and so they now have creative control, which could mean a number of things. There's a number of theories. You could talk all day about this, but for this video, we have The Core.
Yes.
So what we might do this as a two-part because we can talk about Doctor Who as well, because there's some stuff going on with that as well, and it's a similar legacy franchise that's British. That I think did they not start on the same day? Literally, was it oh no, it was the Kennedy assassination, wasn't it, with Doctor Who when that happened?
Or something like that. It was yep, the first episode's aired on the day when everybody was watching this infamous I know where I was that day in Dallas where he got killed.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to Doctor Who in here because that's more your thing, and you'll have some good insight on that. Plus, Paul Cage wants to know a little bit about your thoughts on that. So we'll talk about this Bond thing first, anyway. There's a lot of misinformation out there. John, who's been on the channel before, sent some information through today, and he sent me some. I think it was a Daily Mirror or something. John gets the, he likes to kind of troll about it and stuff, but he understands it as well. But he sent me this Daily Mirror thing, and on the article, it very misleading. It'll talk about rumours, and then it goes into actors that are in the running, which makes it sound like there's a film coming and there's actors that are being considered or whatever. And it was the usual ones: Tom Hardy, all the others, Taron Egerton, is it? And the only one that's even slightly vaguely has any truth in it is Aaron Taylor Johnson, because truth that we know about. Because from what I understand, he did speak to some of the producers or something with a view to doing something if something ever, very early on, discussions, basically, from what I understand. So there's the usual disinformation. They might as well say Robbie Williams is in the running as well, because he did a music video in tribute back in '98, and doing a music tribute in 1998 is going to be the next James Bond, apparently. They ran with that for years.
That was a stupid thing that was going on at one point.
It went on for a long time, did that. It went on from 98, when the Millennium music video came out, right up till maybe 10 years ago, I think, because it was still Robbie Williams is in the running. And it's he's really not, and he never was, and you fucking know it. But it sells newspapers. Point is, anyway, there's a lot of disinformation out there.
Yeah, honestly, I doubt it's going to change much right away, because even though Amazon now have the rights to it, there'll still be deals in place. I don't actually know who has Bond at the moment. On streaming.
I think it would still be Amazon. There might be some contracts where...
that's what I mean. I don't think it's going to change immediately. But once those contracts run out, we might start seeing the Bond films just be on... the films that are already out, it might actually be on,
That makes sense.
It would be a smart thing to do, because that is just basically free money at that point. Yes, the home of Bond kind of thing. But I have no idea if that's what they'll actually do.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a good point. I know the movies, the 4K release of the movies, I think they did put them on there. I don't think they're on there now, but they did do a release of them in 4K some time ago. I didn't watch them on that, because it's kind of a cock tease, that, because as a physical media collector, when you're owning something, you like to when you're watching something, you like to actually own it. So it's kind of like getting a really fit girl round into your house, and she's in like a glass case, and she's doing a striptease, but you can't like touch her. It's like, what's the point at this point, kind of thing. So that's a weird analogy, but I did see there was a documentary that came out from Amazon that was in 4K about James Bond, and that showed a lot of footage, and it looked very good. So, because some 4Ks, it's not a scientific thing really. Some 4Ks look terrible if they've been kind of mastered poorly. Colors look all washed out and so on, and AI gets involved as well. But yeah,
it's not to say all AI is bad. Like AI can be quite good. It very much depends. Like it's kind of like CGI. Like good CGI is good. Bad CGI is bad. That doesn't mean all CGI is bad.
Exactly, yeah, and it works in reverse. Like not all 4Ks are good. There's some films that are in that format that I've been widely told to steer away from because they're just not worth it. Just get the Blu-ray; it's much better quality. But point is, anyway, it's interesting if they'll do a physical release of the film. I'm sure they will because there's been all sorts of things. Like Beverly Hills Cop was like never supposed to see the light of day, like on 4K, and it was streaming only. A few years later, all three of them are out in 4K. So. It's just a matter of time. And as a Bond collector, a long term one, I'm used to waiting years for these things to materialize. I'm very patient with it. To be honest, I only watch the films nowadays. I only watch the Bond films like maybe once every 18 months or 2 years, which to me is quite a long time because I'm a big Bond fan. But I've seen them that many times, I don't feel compelled to just keep watching them, kind of thing. So I can certainly wait for the next round of me watching them to be in 4K in 2 years or whatever. But in terms of the next movie, I mean, who knows? Do we want it to come out until the whole mind virus stuff has blown over? So I think it's going to blow over. I think it's going to be blown away, to be honest. But until that whole
to a degree, but I think there are still some like hardcore, like fucking lunatics, like pushing for it, and there are some dumb there that are stupid enough to kind of hear the insane like whinging in the like periphery of like the niche of a niche of a niche of a fucking tiny ass minority and be like, oh well, there's popular call for this. Like, no, there isn't. There's a few like twats like really pushing for it and whinging when they don't get their own way, but most people don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. So we'd like to think that Bond would be kind of immune, but we know they tried last time, and I won't go on about it because we've spoke about it many times on this channel, but with the last film, there were attempts made to have it be her turn, womankind's turn, to take the helm of the James Bond franchise, because that's what this really needs.
I mean, I'd like to say Amazon have learned the lesson with Lord of the Rings and wouldn't do that to Bond, but I think it is within the realms of possibility that we could get like, the James Bond series, or something stupid.
Oh yeah, and I think I wouldn't resent it. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Well, no, I was just going to say, just as a general thing, like whether it would be any good or not, God only knows.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't resent it because, I mean, these movies really are based on books, so you could do a reimagination for a different format. I would much rather see a proper cinema released Bond 26, new actor, where the filmmakers understand what makes it great, what doesn't make it so great. In some instances in the past, the state of current movies not doing well, where the failures have been there. And just taking all that into consideration, I'd be happy with that, but I don't think we're going to get that. And I don't expect that. I've kind of made my peace with the fact that the last film pretty much marks the end. But I'd love to be surprised. I'd love to. It's not proving me wrong. I'm not saying that they won't. They can do it and they might do it, but it probably will be some like streaming only, like TV show or something, or TV movies. Maybe do them as like periods.
Like when you're saying about the book, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right.
You don't have as bad a track record. I mean, like the worst track record is fucking Rings of Power. I do know some people who like that show, but yeah, everything I've heard about it is like I'm not interested.
Yeah,
but they've done. Sorry to finish what I was saying. They've done like a pretty good job with the Reacher series.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, so maybe something like that. Like that's a pretty good series. Is that? But anyway, stop interrupting now.
No, that's right. And I think that that is a good example of how they could do it, and it could appeal to certain fans. I'd be interested in that, to be fair. It wouldn't be as like must see as the movies are, but I'm a fan of the books in their own right. The books are different to the films, so it could be distinguished from the movies. It could be its own thing and have its own legacy and be very successful, not as like groundbreaking as the Bond movies have been over time. But
I like the Reacher films, but the Reacher series is very good in its own right. It's closer in ways to the books because I've actually read a couple, and like I said, the actor they've got to play him is like, that is much more what you'd expect from Reacher than like Tom Cruise. Like as much as I like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's, like I say, it's a good example. It's just like I say, we'll see how it goes, given that the people have got creative control, haven't really got anything much to show so far. So it's a massive question mark as to what they're going to go down next. But it'll be interesting, and I'm not writing it off. They've not given us any, well, as far as I'm aware, any specific reason for concern. And you could, in fact, devil's advocate, and if, not even devil's advocate, I would argue the point that it was a bit more concerning staying in the hands of Barbara Broccoli, because some of the decisions that she'd been making recently, some of the statements she'd been making were, for anyone who kind of gets it, like what's been going wrong with like movie franchises where they've been kind of usurped with this ideological mind virus insertion or whatever, that was going to be the case with whatever came next. Because, like I say, I get the pressure, the whole like Me Too thing, but they were trying to apply it as if it's relevant to the James Bond movie and say, well, there was this moment in the film with Pussy Galore where he was forcing himself on her. I'm like, what, the scene where she's holding him at gunpoint and he basically does that to like win her over to become a good guy? I don't think that's not quite the angle that you're going for with the Me Too thing, and it discredits it when there's actual cases of women who have like actually been forced, like weren't interested and weren't holding the man at gunpoint. But yeah, so I know Barbara Broccoli's kind of.
Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, I'll finish up. Yeah, I know Barbara Broccoli has been kind of vocal about that. Say, yeah, no, it's a good point. James Bond has to get with the times, kind of thing. There's been a bit of that, and also final point I'll make as well. I think there was like a play set that got re-released. It was obviously, remember growing up. I mean, any kind of decade really. There's been like play sets where you get like a spy thing where it's a suitcase and it's got a gun and a camera and a lighter that fires bullets or whatever. Not real bullets, obviously. That wouldn't work. But stuff like that. And there was in the 60s, I think, there was like an officially licensed James Bond one. And it got a sort of, it might have been like a Kickstarter thing or something like that, one of those crowdfunded things where it got re-released, like remade, using the original like molds or whatever. I don't know. I don't own it, so I don't know the specifics. But Barbara Broccoli, from what I understand, would only allow it if they didn't include the gun in there. It's like the gun is kind of like, I get like not having cigarettes and stuff because children will smoke cigarettes, but like the whole gun thing, like what the hell, seriously? Probably like one, not necessarily because she's anti-gun. It might have just been like they didn't want any like liability if some kids are walking around with this gun or whatever. I don't know, but little things like that do kind of make you think, like, seriously. So maybe it's better off not in her hands anymore. So, anything else?
I'd like to say it's just like if it's as long as they don't give it to basically a bunch of untalented idiots who don't care about the actual product, just want to make like, yes, my own cool thing. It's going to be like super progressive and have all this stuff in it and be this and be that and be the other. It's like, okay, but at this point, even if you attach the Bond name to it, it's not Bond.
Yeah.
Like I could make a thing about like a race car driver and say, oh, it's James Bond. Like, but it isn't though. It's some shitty like thing I've made up about race car drivers. I've just attached the name of James Bond to it. So it's not going to be a case of like, yes, I can now make Bond a woman and make him trans and make him all this and make him all that. and change this and change that and change the other. And it's like, well, okay, but it's not Bond at this point, though, is it?
Yeah, well, I was just showing two Blu-rays here: Casino Royale from 1967 and Never Say Never Again. I mean, these are as legitimate as you can get whilst being outside of the franchise, because they are for some legal issues, and these are based on books. So this was based on Thunderball, Never Say Never Again. I've got a foreign import, and Casino Royale was obviously based on that because of the rights to that. But just because it's got the James Bond name, and even if you get Sean Connery himself to play him, doesn't mean it's part of the franchise, that it's got any kind of legitimacy to it. No offense to anyone that's fans of those movies. I mean, I own them, but then it's not the same. So
I think that could be like a common thing of like some people get very upset, like, oh, you don't like the thing I like, and you can't tell me I shouldn't like it. It's like, if you like fucking Shooty Gatwa Doctor Who, all power to you. I am really happy for you. If you like the shitty Acolyte, cool. But it's not good Star Wars. It's not good Doctor Who. It's not good James Bond. Like, whatever. Like, it's not a good iteration of it. If you find it personally like entertaining, fucking, I am glad somebody does.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to start saying like, oh no, it's good just because like a couple of people like it.
Well, we can segue that into the next video. So we can talk about Doctor Who now, if you like.
Yes.
So Doctor Who isn't something I watch. Not really interested in it, but I appreciate it, and I've got a lot of respect for the sort of older ones leading up to sort of the late 80s. You continue to watch it through the new ones. So what's the deal with that?
Basically, just to specify that, I've watched it up to the second season of Jodie Whittaker, and I just got kind of bored with it after that. And I'm like, I'm not interested in tracking down like the specials, because they usually have like a Christmas special and like a holiday special and all this. It's like, I'm not interested in them. I'm not watching them. They're kind of shit. And the moment like, oh, cool, it's Russell T Davies back. Well, he wasn't that great when he was there to begin with, let's be honest. Like, he brought the show back, but I've never been a fan of his. Like, he did some pretty awful episodes that people seem to just forget about. And yeah, now he's like gone full kind of
Virus.
It's all about my experience as a gay man and all this. And it's like, yeah, but some of the worst shit you did was your like weird fan fiction where the Doctor and the Master are fucking, basically. It's like, that didn't make any sense to begin with, and now you're doubling down on it. Like, what the fuck?
So all gay jokes aside, is this a self-insert that he's done? You know, like how Kathleen Kennedy...
I mean, there's definitely a chunk of that.
Which is never a good thing.
Shame. Like, the guy brought back Doctor Who after it had been dead for quite a while. But yeah, he's not done anything to help. But then again, I don't know how much control he would have actually had, because you know what the fucking BBC are like.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah, so I mean, I say it's never a good thing doing self-inserts, but if you're trying to push like a message with that as well, the message is usually going to be quite subjective. And
I mean, he did like Queer as Folk. Was that not enough for you like self-insert like gay experience and stuff? Like, you literally did a show about that. Like, why do you need to make the sci-fi show you're doing now also about that?
That's a good example, because I mean, I never watched the show. I mean, there's a lot of shows I've never watched, but from what I understand, that's quite a well-liked and well-respected show. It's got some good actors in it as well. So I mean, if that's what the show is about, it can be great. But taking something that already exists, that has nothing to do with identity politics or the life of a gay man or whatever, and trying to make it about that, just doesn't really work for good storytelling. It's, you know...
Well, it's like got stupid stuff like, the David Tennant Doctor realizes he's gay because he meets like Sir Isaac Newton and crushes on him. It's like, the Doctor's been around for hundreds of thousands of, like, possibly even millions of years. Like, it changes every time he like says how old he is. He basically like talks a lot of shit. I think he would have realized what he is by now, and like trying to define an alien by like modern like. It's really cringe and stupid.
And David Tennant as well is a pretty horrendous Well, and the mind virus, let's just say, bringing that into it as well. He's made comments before telling women that think that women-only spaces should be women-only spaces, saying that they should shut up. It's like almost comes across as a bit misogynistic, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so yeah,
I
real
don't
arrogant.
dislike David Tennant, but he's not. Honestly, I like Matt Smith more than him. Like, again, I think I was just like a weird outlier because I like Matt Smith and I honestly like Stephen Moffat like way more than David Tennant and Russell the fucking Davies.
Yeah, I kind of like David Tennant in what was it now? It was a remake. What the hell? Non-name remembering motherfucker. Fright Night. He was quite good in that, but I think that's the only thing I've ever seen him in that I liked him. I didn't like him in Jessica Jones. I just always see him. He's just kind of like a watered down version of Russell Brand in some ways. I know he's got that sort of like I'm the flamboyant, like kind of guy. I like Russell Brand to be fair, but we're talking about Doctor Who anyway. And this is your video. So what's this latest thing anyway? So the guy that's been playing him now, they've got him on because of his skin color and because of his sexuality first and foremost. So,
I mean,
and
it
they've made a
certainly
point
comes
of
across that way.
Well, they've
And
made a
he
point
is
of
one of
that.
these people that have basically been like mouthing off, like telling the fans to go touch grass and all this. It's like, well, given your ratings are about as low as they've ever fucking been, yeah, it sounds like people took your advice and went and touched grass. How's that working for you?
Yeah, it's like you don't need to make it about that. And they made a point of like, they tried it with Star Wars, the like day one last year, like January 1st, when they were going to be doing a new Star Wars film. It's like, it's going to be a DOC, a director of color, and a woman. It's like, and is the film going to be any good? It's like, that's the more important thing.
Answer
You
is
can have.
probably not, because that Obey thingy Machoy, or whatever the hell her name is, I honestly can't pronounce it.
That
Because I
wasn't
don't
going to be
care,
amazing.
and she's
You
not going to
can't
be
pronounce.
making the film. It's like
Yeah,
she's
that
got
wasn't.
no experience with making anything that aren't like documentaries. So it's like, well, why the hell have you got her directing a feature film for like millions with like massive special effects and stuff? It's like she doesn't know shit about making those kind of films. It'd be as stupid as like asking like me, because I've driven a car once, to build a car. It's like, I don't know shit about building a car. I wouldn't even know where to fucking begin. Like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. But again, it's not, because then they'll take that and say you've got a problem with I made up the phrase DOC for the sake of the joke. DOC, directors of color, that's also a woman. It's like, it's not that, but if that's the only thing you've got going for them, that's not a good
That's
sign.
why you've picked her, and it clearly was, because like I said, she's got no like big, like massive, like this is what happened with stuff like the Eternals. Again, it was like a director of color and all this kind of stuff who didn't really know much about directing a film, and it was widely regarded as being kind of boring and like looked really kind of bland and colorless and like, what the fuck even is this?
Yeah. So this guy that plays Doctor Who now, and we were just saying before as well, you not being able to pronounce names is not a racist thing. You cannot pronounce names. It's a running joke on the channel. You can go back years. He's
I
known
mean,
as the
Shooty
non-name.
Gatwa I can kind of pronounce because it's been all over the fucking place.
Yeah. So
But yeah, basically this has come out of the Sun. Basically saying like, oh, all the cast's been laid off, like they filmed his regeneration scene and all this, and he's out of there. And like, yeah, that seems to be the case. I mean, it's the Sun, so take it with a grain of salt. But we have like heard quite recently, like from other like places, that yeah, Bad Wolf Productions, the company in like Cardiff that was making Doctor Who, have kind of stopped. The like studios shut down and stuff. So yes, all the crew are like basically laid off because the place is shut. Now, does that mean there's going to be no more Doctor Who? Like, it means there's going to be no more made in Cardiff. Does it mean there's going to be no more made at all? That's not quite the same thing.
yeah, no, I get what you mean.
And like,
So
yes, he has recorded his like regeneration scene, but from rumors that have come out, he's like kind of recorded two scenes. One where he does a regeneration, and one where he doesn't and he continues. So it's like it could go either way.
Yeah, because you do that a lot with movies where there's a lot of people watching it, like the Rocky Balboa film from 2006, was it? Has two endings because they knew that, well, it kind of keeps things open in some ways, but they knew that things would leak out if they film this ending, and people that have been there watching it being filmed will then leak the information. So they film two endings, and no one knows, how it's going to go in the editing room.
Yeah, in this case, it seems to be a little bit of like, I don't think Shooty Gatwa is particularly like decided yet either. Because I know he's got like other things he's working on, like films and stuff. So he might like genuinely be like, fuck it. I don't want to be like Doctor Who anymore because I've got other shit on my plate, which is like bigger like stakes than Doctor Who. So it's like, I don't know. I know there is some stuff that's come out today because I saw a video like just before we went online. Some new Doctor Who news, but I have no idea what that is because I've not watched it yet. So there could be something big that's just broken. Like, I don't know.
Well, we can do a follow up to this. We were just kind of rolling this. I'm aware you're short on time as well, so we might have to cut this off. But
yeah, I've got a couple of minutes here. Like I say, at the moment it's interesting, but it's not like, aha, yes, he's gone. Thank fuck, we're finally rid of the idiot. It's like I have no idea what he's like as the Doctor. I have not bothered watching any of his like shows. Like, I was already out when you had like the Doctor discovering he was gay and getting lectured for like male privilege. And like one of the things like, yep, the only way this has been resolved is because there's a trans person to understand what's going on. And like stuff like that. And it's like, that's not Doctor Who. Like, I'm not coming back. Like, I was vaguely interested in was, David Tennant and Catherine Tate are back. Cool. Yeah, I've seen 2 clips and I'm like, yeah, no, fuck off.
Well, it's the lecturing, isn't it? And when you know that the people that are doing it also pushing things on children like chest binders and puberty blockers that surgically and chemically castrate and sterilize them, and there's this darker side to it, you basically see that the people that are pushing this message on you, it's not just a bunch of like weird people like being a bit preachy and annoying. It's actually very dark and sinister, and we don't want to touch that, and we've identified it for what it is. That's why people are getting turned off from it.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing thing. So I hear this argument so often. It's like, oh, well, this was always that. It's like, no, it wasn't, though. Because I watched stuff like Star Trek when it was fucking on TV. And yes, there was some degree of this, but it was usually from like, I think the best like description of this I've heard is it's from a humanitarian point. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't mistreat people because of their gender or whatever. You shouldn't be racist to people. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. It wasn't getting up and telling you, you are a horrible person and you need to do better. It wasn't getting up and telling you, yep, you need to like be okay with us like doing this to kids and stuff.
Exactly. So, yeah, like I say, we can, if there's some more information, we can do a follow-up video to this. I don't know if I'll edit this into 2 videos, just have one long video, see what happens when I'm rendering it all. But
certainly at the moment, I would say to anybody like interested, I wouldn't get too excited yet. It's very like a lot of this we already sort of knew because it had been going around in rumors and stuff. But there's no like solid like, yes, this is confirmed or anything like that.
Yeah. Right, well, we'll cut it short there. It's the first video I think we've done this year. We usually take a bit of a break beginning of the year. So we'll see if there's anything else throughout the year. And yeah, we'll just call it a day. So anything else to add?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Cool. All right, well, thank you everybody for watching.